I'm Daniel Malakauskas of Malakauskas Law, and today I'll be giving a very brief overview of acquiring a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship. Please note this video is only a brief overview and only answers some common questions. It does not explain the process entirely. So let's begin. First off, what is a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship? When a child is born inside of the United States, that individual is automatically considered a U.S. citizen and registered with the local, state, and federal governments. The United States government therefore becomes aware of the newly born child, and the child's citizenship is automatically documented. However, what happens when the child of a U.S. citizen is born outside of the United States into a foreign country? How is the U.S. government to become aware of the child? After all, the birth certificate and documentation occurs in a foreign nation. When the child later claims to be a U.S. citizen, how is the U.S. government to know whether or not the child is telling the truth? To solve this problem, the U.S. government created the Certificate of Citizenship, as well as a consular report of birth abroad. A U.S. Certificate of Citizenship is a document that proves that a child born outside of the United States to a parent that is a U.S. citizen qualifies for citizenship inside the United States. What is the difference between a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship and a U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad? Both the U.S. Certificate of Citizenship and the U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad are used to show proof of United States citizenship for children that were born outside of the United States. However, since each are a different route or process to obtain proof of citizenship, both the U.S. Certificate of Citizenship and the U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad have different requirements and different procedures. Whether you will have to apply either for a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship or a U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad depends upon your age. A U.S. Certificate of Citizenship is given to U.S. citizens who apply for proof of their citizenship after their 18th birthday. A U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad is given to U.S. citizens who apply for proof of their citizenship before their 18th birthday. In addition, since a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship is often sought after the petitioner reaches the age of 18, the U.S. citizen child often applies for the certificate themselves. By contrast, since a U.S. Consular Report of Birth Abroad is often sought before the United States citizen child reaches the age of 18, it is the parents of the child that often apply for a Consular Report of Birth Abroad. What is the benefit of getting a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship? A Certificate of Citizenship is proof that you are an actual United States citizen. Therefore, if you obtain the Certificate of Citizenship, you will gain all other benefits of being a United States citizen. This includes, absent barring circumstances, the ability to obtain a U.S. passport. A United States passport is still coveted across the world. The United States passport allows you to gain access up to around 180 different countries, either visa-free or visa on arrival. In addition, having a U.S. passport allows you access to foreign embassies abroad, as well as foreign consulate offices and all the services that they provide. What are the requirements for a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship? You can acquire a U.S. Certificate of Citizenship if you are a U.S. citizen who was born outside of the United States. If you were born outside of the United States, generally you must meet the following requirements according to 8 U.S. Code 1431. It states, a child born outside of the United States becomes a citizen of the United States when all of the following requirements have been fulfilled. Number 1, at least one parent of the child is a citizen of the United States, whether by birth or naturalization. Number 2, the child is under the age of 18. Number 3, the child residing in the United States in the legal and physical custody of the citizen parent pursuant to a lawful admission for permanent residency. However, these requirements do not always apply. For example, even if you are over the age of 18, you can still apply for citizenship. In addition, even if you are not inside the United States and do not have permanent residency, you may still apply for a certificate of citizenship through alternative processes. Reach out to Malakauskas Law and we can evaluate your case and determine whether or not you qualify for citizenship. What documents are required for a U.S. certificate of citizenship? The supporting documents you will need depend upon your unique situation. However, common documents include, but are not limited to, the following. First off, birth certificates. You and your parents' birth certificates matter. Certain countries have different forms of birth certificates that may be required. Number 2, proof of citizenship. You need documents showing that one or more of your parents is an actual United States citizen. Number 3, marriage certificates. This can include any marriage certificates of you or your parents. This includes both current and previous marriages. Number 4, marriage termination documentation. This is documentation showing the termination of any previous marriage of you or your parents. This may include death certificates, annulments, divorce decrees, etc. Number 5, name change documentation. Any documentation showing a legal name change is a necessity. Number 6, proof of adoption or legitimization. In cases in which you are adopted or legitimized, official documents proving such. 7, passport-style photographs of yourself. Number 8, biometric data. Biometric data is just a fancy word for documents that prove your identity. Number 9, proof of physical residence. These are documents showing your current or previous addresses where you resided. In addition, USCIS may ask for additional documentation throughout the entire process when they want to verify certain information in your application. What is the process for getting a certificate of citizenship? A typical certificate of citizenship case has the following phases. Number 1 is the initial processing. The first step is gathering all relevant evidence and then preparing and submitting your application to the USCIS. Number 2 are requests for information. After submitting your application, USCIS may ask you for additional information. The process can occur multiple times throughout the entire application. Number 3 is the interview. After USCIS has acquired all of the information they believe necessary to evaluate your application, they will schedule an interview with you. This interview will go over what you had previously written in your application and any additional documentation they may want. Also, if you are filing Form N600K, you will also likely have to apply for a visa to attend the interview. Number 4, biometric interview. USCIS may ask for an interview in order to identify or verify your identity. This usually occurs at the same time as the other interview. And number 5, the decision. After the interview, you will receive a decision in the mail. Although the decision is final, you may be able to appeal the decision. How do you apply for a certificate of citizenship? You can apply for a U.S. certificate of citizenship with the USCIS. You can either apply via mail or online. Depending upon your circumstances, you will either apply using the form entitled Application for Citizenship, which is also known as Form N-600, or you use the form entitled Application for Citizenship and Issuance of Certification under Section 332, which is also known as Form N-600K. What if I already had a certificate of citizenship but lost it? If you are already granted a certificate of citizenship, you do not need to go through the entire process again. Rather, you can simply apply for a replacement. To apply for a replacement, you can make your request using the form entitled Application for Replacement of a Naturalization or Citizenship Document. This is also known as Form N-565. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or would like future topics in the video, please leave a comment down below. Finally, please note that this video was for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. You need an attorney to evaluate your specific and unique situation. Malakauskas Law is there to help.